Hey everyone. Hey, welcome to dSIPRouter Weekly. So you can notice I'm by myself this time. Tyler is busy working on some projects. So I said, hey, let me just jump on and talk really quickly. So this week has been super crazy for us. Been amazing stuff that's been going on. A lot of work has been going on in our MS Teams module. So we'll see some stuff come out from us around marketing. We've really been working with a customer that has Metaswitch and really making the dSIPRouter Microsoft Teams module work well out of the box with Metaswitch. So that's in situations where you have an existing Metaswitch, but you want some Microsoft Teams support. Really what happens is that dSIPRouter sits in front of your Metaswitch and does all of the things that's needed in order to communicate with Microsoft Teams. So it becomes the proxy into the Microsoft Teams world. So we did I don't know. I think we spent a lot of time working with this customer to make sure that it was working well with Metaswitch. Typically, we're not working with Metaswitch. Typically, usually, dSIPRouter is typically sitting in between Microsoft Teams and a carrier. So what's supported and what's needed from somebody who's acting as a carrier, it's been a little different for us. So, but it's been good. So more to come on that. This particular episode, I'm going to talk to you about what are we doing around, supporting and jumping into the whole AI. I guess you could say, I don't want to call it a battle, but the whole world of AI. Everybody's talking about. Every time you look at TechCrunch, there's something new about what's going on inside of AI, and a lot of times, besides the fact that people are talking about, well, how do I, incorporate AI into a call center in order to have, people to call in and talk to a virtual assistant or agent versus talking to a human. That's been most of the rhetoric and most of the communication and the excitement has been around in that space. But for us who sit in the core VoIP infrastructure, I guess you could say, part of an organization, how do we leverage AI? And better yet, how do we help our users and customers incorporate AI into to the VoIP world from an infrastructure standpoint? So one of the things that we decided to do is build a MCP server, and that so MCP server is Model Context Protocol. Kind of think of it as kind of the USB equivalent to providing information to AI reasoning models. Because these models, there's a bunch of them. How do you get information from third-party systems? Model Context Protocol provides that standard layer of being able to communicate with different systems. So what we've done, we've built a MCP server. We have not released it yet. I'm going to talk a little bit about why we're doing this. If you want to know more about it, please follow us on our different social media, or just jump into our Slack channel. And our Slack channel information will be in the show notes below. So let's kind of jump into why, why are we kind of focused on this overall? So let me share a video, or not a video, but a presentation I have here. Put it in slideshow mode. And what I'm going to do here is just kind of talk through how we're building out our MCP server. Okay. So the MCP server, so first of all, let me just back up. For those who are not familiar with dSIP, I'm assuming most of you are, this is our stack for dSIP. So this is what makes up dSIP. We have an Nginx server that handles inbound requests from a web browser. We have an RTP engine, which is optional, but what that is that handles translating or brokering or anchoring media onto the dSIP server. We have Chameleon, which is the heart of dSIP. It does all the routing. We have an API that sits on top of that. So now we have a very standard way for being able to create endpoint groups, carrier groups, all the standard constructs that's needed in order to have a system to be able to receive a SIP request from a UAC or a SIP agent, and then being able to translate over to a carrier. Um, and then you have a UI that sits on top of that, which leverages the API for the most part. What you're seeing here on to the right is examples of different systems that we're able to communicate with. And on the left, kind of typically the user clients that are communicating with us. So we have a Teams module. You can just use this with a plain old SIP phone if you want to, right? And then what you're going to see here is this MCP server. So the MCP server actually uses our API in the back end. So the MCP server is really not, at this point, it's not really a standalone server. So it's kind of a misnomer on that. Really is just kind of a piece of software that implements a set of standard interfaces that allows us to connect to dSIP and to have it either get information around dSIP or to have it do some actions against dSIP. So maybe in a use case, maybe something like, if this MCP server is running inside of a AI agent. For right now, we support Anthropic's Claude. I'm sorry. So basically, you would install this MCP server inside of Claude. You give it an API key to your dSIPRouter environment, and then it will allow you to ask questions of the dSIPRouter instance. So you may have a question like, tell me all of the actual calls that happen within the last 24-hour span or the last 15-minute span. So if you ask Claude this question, it will then go over to dSIP, pull that information, and provide it to you. Or you may say, you may start, since Claude is a reasoning engine, you may have it ask questions like, based on, whatever's happening in the world today, what's the best time to set up, dSIP for doing some action, right? So you could, in what it could do is then go grab information from dSIP around maybe, how many calls it takes typically during a certain time period, and then it could come back with some suggestions on the best time to configure dSIP to do certain things. I don't even know all the use cases yet. I'm just making stuff up. All I know is that humans want to talk in a natural language, want to use a natural language approach to communicate. I think obviously, we've all used keyboards, mouses, it's great, but really in the whole, this whole explosion of AI really gives us the ability to be able to talk to computers this is computers using our, kind of standard default, language, right? So natural language. So basically being able to communicate with it. So that's what we're building. And so it's going to be right now it's going to be an open source component. So it's going to live in its own repo. It's probably going to be dSIPRouter-MCP, and that's where it'll live. So the only thing is that in order for it to work, you'll need to be able to talk to dSIP with the API. The API is a feature that's only available in the core subscription and above. So you will need, to buy a subscription in order to communicate with it. But I'm assuming you would not buy it just to talk to the MCP server or have it to connect with Claude. I'm assuming you would be buying the core subscription because, you want CDRs. You want to be able to use the API because you're integrating with other systems. there's other reasons why you would want the API. This is just another, I guess you could say value add of being able to use the API. So a couple of things here. I want to just I kind of talked through all these already around what MCP is, why we are doing this, and then what are the supported AI clients to start. I want to dive a little bit into the why really quickly a little bit. So we find a lot of people want to, there's not a lot of people that are like growing up and saying, ooh, I want to be a SIP engineer when I grow up. And then there's a lack of skills out there that that really know how to make VoIP infrastructure really scale and how to use VoIP infrastructure successfully. So we're just trying to lower the barrier. That's always been our mission inside of dSIPRouter. I mean, like at the end of the day, this is really Camilio at the core. And sure, people can go learn Camilio, and I actually definitely recommend people understand what Camilio does and the value proposition. But people just don't have the time to really sit there and understand all the details of Camilio. So that's what dSIPRouter does. And so to me, the MCP server allows us to add on another layer because, with our UI, people can go in and they can do the things they want to do, which is really most people just want to take requests from some SIP client and then really route it off to some backend or upstream SIP carrier. And they don't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to make that work. We got that. We do that well. But now there's people that's in these organizations that have, that have accounting teams or have management teams or have teams that are trying to do some level of planning out the scale of these systems. And so we really want those people to really be able to interact with dSIP unfiltered, right? We want them to be able to interact with dSIP unfiltered and get the information they need in order to do their job. And so, we just want to make it much easier versus them having to go talk to the VoIP engineer. Then the VoIP engineer needs to prioritize getting this information to them. So it becomes like a bottleneck, in order to get the information that you need if you're in management. So we want to make it a lot easier. Sure, can we build a lot of reports around this and put up a reporting system? Everything's in the database. They can use their own report writer if they want to connect to the dSIP database and pull the data they want to. But I just don't think that is what people are going to want in the future. People are going to want to use a combination of AI systems with their enterprise systems to figure out the best path forward. And using and implementing a MCP server for dSIP allows us to be able to do that, right? So that's really what we're doing around the MCP server. So, all right. So thank you for listening to that, and look forward to that. If you have questions around what we're doing, please let us know. Now, a couple other things that we've been working on. One is that we have a new version of dSIPRouter that's going to be coming out. It's going to be dSIPRouter 1.0, and that's going to be based on a new framework that we have. So it's going to be based on Golang. It's going to have a standard libraries for being able to encapsulate certain things around dSIP. And so we'll be having some SDKs that's going to be released with this new version. We also have a dSIPRouter CLI, which has been out for a while. And really, that was the first thing that we kind of built in Golang. So we are adding more features to that. So now you'll actually have a dSIPRouter CLI that you can put on your, if you're running a Mac or you run a Linux machine, you'll be able to just download that, specify the API key and specify the host name of your dSIPRouter instance, and you'll be able to interact with dSIPRouter from the command line very much like you do in the UI. We're going to take a lot of the complexity away in regards to going and figuring out how our API works and things of that nature. We're just going to incorporate that right into the dSIPRouter CLI. So I think that's going to be exciting. It's going to be something that, it's going to probably change the game and a lot of people, versus having to, jump on the box and make some changes or go to the UI. It'll make it easier to do scripting as well. So you'll just be able to, call parameters on the CLI in order to get things kind of scripted if you're scripting things in an automated workflow type of situation. So excited about that. And then lastly, we're going to be at Chameleon World. In particular, Tyler is going to be there. I may show up. I don't know. We'll see. A surprise or not. And we're also thinking about going to OpenSIPs as well. So we have some kind of big announcements around that time frame. And so I just wanted to kind of share those things with you. So that's all I really wanted to talk about today, is kind of give you an update on what we're doing around, MCP servers and understanding why we're doing it, and just kind of talk through some of the exciting things we have going on. Okay. So please, drop us a note. You can find us at dSIPRouter.org. You will be able to see our link to our Slack channel. Please just jump in, ask us questions. DM me on Slack. I typically respond pretty quickly. Try out dSIPRouter if you haven't already. Okay. All right. Take care and have a great day. Take care.